Hello and welcome to another episode of Wannabe Entrepreneur. 101 followers on Twitter. That's the milestone I achieved today, 101. And what is most impressive about this is that when I release my episode about how to get Twitter followers, which was basically 7 days ago, it's episode 101, if you want to listen to it, I only had about 30 followers, so I got 70 followers in 7 days, so roughly 10 per day. And that also came with a lot of, not so great consequences, and I want to talk about those two in today's episode. But first, I want to just speak a little bit about what strategies did I use to achieve this goal, 100 followers. Actually, I have now 101 followers, and let's get started. So I followed a lot of the things I told you that I was doing on episode 101, and those turned out to be very successful. So first of all, you have to make sure you have a good profile, a nice profile picture, a nice description, so that when people basically check your profile out, they can easily read your description and understand who you are, and because they will decide then if they want to follow you or not. And having a great picture also works a lot for sure. But given that you have that, then there's still a lot to be done. And of course, you have to define what are your target users. And for me, since this is for my podcast, my target users are entrepreneurs, people that like startups, developers, marketeers. So in that area, in that genre. And that's basically what I've been focusing on. And to start, what I've done was to basically check the hashtag startups and hashtag startup, and start following people or nice tweets that I find there, liking a bunch of tweets. And what turned out to be the most successful action was actually to comment on those tweets, and especially when the comments were actually bringing value. So let's say that there's someone asking questions about how to use React Native, which is a technology I'm using for my app. Or there was another one, which was if I could recommend, or if someone could recommend a landing page or a tool to create landing pages, and I immediately recommended MailChimp. So if you actually bring value to these people, to these to other Twitter users, they will most likely get back to you. And just by doing that, I immediately got a couple of followers. But another technique that I use is if someone interacts with your answer, let's say that, and most of them do, by the way, if someone just gets back to me and answers me back, or if they just like my answer, what I do is I follow them. And just by following them, they will get notified, obviously, and they will follow me back. So, yeah, that was a great strategy. And I think, to be honest, that's where I spend most of my time, was to checking out my feed, checking out this hashtag feeds like startups and also development, tech, React Native, and just answering and following people. And that's when I think I got most of my users and followers. So if you want to only take one thing from this podcast, take this one. But another thing that I did, obviously, was to create my own tweets, and that's a world. That's so much things you can do to actually explore this. First of all, is you start following other other users on Twitter, and you start kind of having an intuition on what works and what doesn't, what most of the people like, what are they tweeting about. So there's and I don't know, it feels that you join a certain club because you see always the same people tweeting too. It's like the most popular ones, like the school, you have the popular ones, you have the funny ones, you have the wannabes, and so it's funny to see these patterns and see what works and what doesn't. There's one meme, for instance, around the startup community in Twitter that it takes for you to just write startup or startups on a tweet, and you will immediately get followers. So it's funny to do that. So sometimes I make some jokes with that, and then sometimes I just share what I'm doing. One thing that I noticed is if you share your achievements, you'll get a lot of people checking your profile. So for instance, now I just reached the 100 follower mark, and I just did a nice tweet with the image with some basically some arrows pointing to the 100 mark, and people immediately it got a lot of engagement, a lot of not a lot, like some likes, like one or two or three, and one retweet. But this is actually quite a lot already for Twitter, and you can immediately see that this brings a lot of impressions and people visiting your profile. So yeah, sharing personal things is a great way to bring people's attention to your profile. And one thing that is amazing, and you really should use it, is in every tweet you can see the metrics. You can see how the tweet actually performed, and I've been using that quite a lot to see what works and what doesn't, what hashtags work better than others, and also you can see how people engage with your tweet. So you can actually see if they liked your tweet, or if they saw it, how many impressions it had, if they clicked on your profile. So you can really see everything, and you can have an idea on the consequences of each tweet. And for that, of course, that's what I've been doing. Every time I tweet, I check the metrics. I check if they're working or if they are not working. A lot of the times I don't even use hashtags, because Twitter, when you search for, let's say you go to the search box on Twitter and you search for startups, it will just like find all the tweets that have the word startup. So you don't even need the hashtags. And I know that Twitter suggests for you not to use a lot of hashtags. So 1 or 2 is the sweet spot. So I believe that if you use a lot of hashtags, Twitter will just not promote your tweet. So you gotta also pay attention to all of these rules. And yeah, there's a couple of tools that really help me create better engaging tweets. There's one tool in particular, I think it's called Twitter Hunter, and that you connect your account with it, and it basically suggests you similar tweets that were very successful. And it's amazing because you can just take this as a template for your own tweet. So let's say that it's an example, but if there's one tweet that says startup is not a sprint, is a marathon, I just replaced the word startup by the word podcast, and I immediately got some engagement. So this is a great tool that I think it uses AI to determine which one works better or not, and I've been using this. It's you can use it for free, and if you pay you get access to more tweets or something, but so far I've been using it for free. And yeah, there's a couple of other techniques, but these are the core techniques that I've been using, and they turn out to be quite successful. I will write a little post for all my supporters and members of this podcast, and the link will be in the description. So if you want to support this podcast and have access to this, it's a great way for you to do it. You can just pay me a coffee or something and get access to this and all the other prime or premium content. And yeah, I will also share the tools that I've used and some print screens of the tweets that work the best. So it will be like a compilation that will save you all the trouble that I've been, because there is a dark side for this. And this dark side is that in only 1 week I got completely addicted to Twitter, and not in a good way. I was, just for you to understand, I just checked that I wrote more than 700 tweets since I have the accounts, and since I only started basically last week, most of them, like let's say 600 of these tweets, and by the way, in this 600 it includes not only my tweets but all the replies. So every time I reply to people, it also counts up as a tweet. It's 600 of them. It's absurd. And I really felt, sick. I felt that I couldn't spend more than, let's say, 30 minutes without looking to my Twitter account and checking if my tweet worked. I There was a tweet that I shared recently with a comparison between this box. I also spoke about it yesterday about the styrofoam with styrofoam, without styrofoam, and I deleted and retweeted that I think 5 times, changing hashtags, and I'm always checking and seeing if I'm having more likes, and I cannot sleep very well actually. So I wake up always very early, and the first thing I do is it's checking Twitter, and I really felt an addiction, like seriously an addiction, and it's super scary, but because it was only 1 week. 1 week of trying to grow my Twitter account, and I was already feeling very very addicted, and I was not feeling very good. So what I decided was, once I reach the 100 mark with the 100 followers, I will stop doing this so frequently. And I know that I will get less followers, obviously, but I mean, it's better than to just lose my mind. So now what I decided is that I will do it like once. I will access Twitter once or twice a day, and not more. Just, I access once, I reply a couple of comments, I do 1 or 2 tweets, and that's it. And I was trying to do that today, and I was really feeling bad. Like every time I had some extra time, I was like, okay, let's go to tweets. Every time, I was in the tram recently or in the bus, and okay, let's check my Twitter account. So those movies. I don't know if you saw that recent documentary on Netflix about social media. I don't recall the name now, but they are true. I mean, in only 1 week, I got addicted, and I don't know how other marketeers do this. Like, to be honest, I would really get sick, and well, it just confirms that I'm really not a marketeer. But yeah, that's definitely the dark side. And I can see also that there's other people that tweet a lot, and they are always there, and I know that it's a problem, and they probably will agree with me that they are also addicted. So that's the downside. The plus side is that I got followers, I got listeners, I got interviews. So what I also do a lot is I message people that I think might be interesting. So I sent so many messages, like DMs, and I got a couple of them getting back to me. I probably also, by the way, got some followers from them, and I got a lot of interviews. So I have a lot of interviews. So it actually worked and helped my business and my podcast, but it didn't do very well for my mental health, and it's not great for that. So you really have to control it, and I will have to do it. I will have to use less Twitter now, otherwise it will be really really bad for me. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. I hope that you can use this also to grow your own Twitter account and get more listeners. And I will get back to you maybe in a week or two to see how my Twitter account is growing, even without me going so often to it. And yeah, once again, there'll be a link in the description with all of these tips and tricks, and a nice, compilation, so you can just go and check it out. And you can also contribute for this podcast, because this podcast is completely for free. I don't want to do ads, and the only way for me to continue doing this is with your support. I hope you found this episode interesting. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you tomorrow.